Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the 2024 Ram 1500 EV. I know I already made a video about this, but we have some updates and some new information to go over. And so in today's video, we're going to go over what we know so far, a lot of the updates as well, and we're going to kind of just dig into this Ram 1500 EV and try to figure out what's happening. So let's get into the video. So there is not a ton of information on the Ram 1500 EV yet. Ram basically says that as a 2024 model year, or by 2024 basically, they're going to have a 1500 that is fully electric, and they kind of released some little like spy shots of what they're kind of thinking design wise with the truck, and I went over that in another video. So again, there's not a ton of information, but basically as a 2024 model year or by 2024, Ram is going to have their fully electric truck out. And so yeah, pretty exciting news. In terms of what they're looking to do with this truck, it sounds like they're looking to have a driving range of about 500 miles, and they're going to have battery sizes ranging from 159 kilowatt hours to 200 plus kilowatt hours. So that'll be the max range. So there'll probably be other versions that'll have less range, 300 to 400 miles of range, depending on the exact setup they do with the tires and the wheels and all that fun stuff. But this obviously is pretty interesting to talk about, because I just made a video about the new Silverado EV. I've talked about the Ford F-150 Lightning, and so it seems like Ram is way behind, right? Because Ford's already going to be delivering delivering these Lightnings to customers. Chevy is going to have their truck out by 2023, the year. It'll be a 2024 model year, but they're going to have it out by 2023, and Ram hasn't even released a full-blown concept vehicle to us, right? We have a production truck from Ford, we have a concept from Chevy, and we have a drawing from Ram. And so it does look worrying, right? It does look like Ram is not really putting too much time and effort into this, but I talked about this in the first video I made, and I kind of want to reiterate this. I really do believe that Ram is kind of sitting back, and some people at Ram have kind of made the statement that they're sitting back and waiting and seeing what the other manufacturers do, and they're going to basically use this to make sure that their truck, when it comes out, is amazing. And I'm all for that, right? But there's pros and cons to it, and so let's kind of get into the pros and cons, right? First off, with what Ford's doing, early adoption, right? You get all this hype behind it, like what they've been having with the Lightning, where they have so many orders they can't even meet demand. And then on top of that, right, since they're the early adopters, their name within that segment is going to be a lot stronger, right, to consumers, because people are going to feel a little bit safer buying from them, because they're like, oh, well, they've been doing it for a few years now, right? So that's another benefit of early adoption. And then also, you have a chance to work out the kinks with the vehicle over time, right? You might have a little bit of a shaky release with a bunch of issues, but you'll eventually be able to work it out over time, and you'll be able to learn from your mistakes and then make a better and better product as time goes on. And so there's quite a few benefits to doing early adoption, but there is a lot of benefits to waiting too. So first off, if you wait, it actually lowers your cost of entry quite substantially, right? When you are an early adopter to a particular type of technology, you have to spend a ton of money and time into engineering, right, to make sure this vehicle works. Whereas if you're not an early adopter, you can kind of do the whole steal some notes from your desk mate type deal, right? And you can figure out, you can see what the other manufacturer's done and see what works and what doesn't work. And instead of spending time and effort and money into things that don't work, you just go, yep, that doesn't work. Get rid of that. Oh, these are the things that are working out. Let's spend more time and effort into that. And so you kind of have a smoother process, right? Again, just copying from your desk mate. So there's that big benefit. And then the other benefit that comes with that is, again, seeing the failures of the other manufacturers will allow you to instantly have those fixed in your product at release time. And so your product's going to look a lot more polished at release date, right? I'm sure there's going to be quite a few updates and changes to the F-150 Lightning and to the Silverado EV when they come out. And I'm sure Ram will have some updates, right, to this electric truck. But since they're releasing this after everyone else, then by the time it comes out, it's going to be a very polished product, right? And in being a very polished product, it's probably not going to have all the same kinks and issues that the initial release with the Ford and the Chevy have. And so people are going to look at it and they're going to be like, wow, this is really nice. And maybe some people that bought the Lightning and maybe some people that bought the Silverado EV are going to move over to Ram, because they're going to be like, but I had that issue. And so then they'll lose trust with that manufacturer. And since Ram is waiting and seeing what works and what doesn't work, when they release it, right, and they release this product that's kind of a little bit more finished up and everything, then it's going to give more confidence to the buyers. So there is a bunch of benefits to late adoption with the truck. And so overall, Ram is obviously taking their normal stance to things, because they did the exact same thing with the original fifth generation Ram 1500, right? Ford released a new F-150 in 2015, and then they kind of redid it for the 2018 model year. And then Chevy obviously redid their truck for 2019, and Ram did their truck for 2019 as well. But Ram was benchmarking Ford more than they were Chevy, because Ram saw that they were going to, soon pass Chevy in sales, and so they weren't really concerned about them as much. They're more concerned about beating Ford in sales eventually, right? That's their eventual goal. And so they saw what worked with the Ford F-150, and they saw what didn't work with the Ford F-150. And so then when they released the fifth generation Ram 1500, right, if you notice, a lot of the stuff in that truck addresses a lot of issues with the 2015 to 2020 Ford F-150, right? And some of those issues, right, is people were complaining about the twin turbo engines with towing because they weren't getting great gas mileage. So Ram releases their truck still with the naturally aspirated V8, and they release it with a new e-torque system that helps out with fuel economy. And so when you tow with the Ram 1500 versus the Ford F-150, you actually get better gas mileage with the Ram. So that was a big issue that they addressed. The other issue is people were constantly complaining about wheel hop with the Ford. Now, Ram had already adopted coil suspension, but they've retuned it for 2019 to make the truck ride even smoother. And so you have the F-150 that has this kind of slightly rough ride and wheel hop, and the Ram stays nice and planted. So that was another thing. Another thing people are complaining about the Ford is the interior, right? You had nice seats, but some of the tech and some of the materials and everything else, again, go look at a 2015 to 2020 Ford, doesn't necessarily feel or look the nicest. And so then Ram spent a ton of time with that. And so when they released their product in 2019, it just blew up, right? And there were so many people from Ford and Chevy and Toyota and Nissan that went over to Ram because of how polished the product was, and because there wasn't a ton of issues at launch, because they spent so much time in making sure it was a good truck. And so like I said, I really do believe that is what's going to happen with this fully electric Ram 1500. And so that's kind of what you can expect. And if you guys are wondering in terms of what I think you should do as a buyer, this is just my personal opinion, is I would just wait until everyone releases their truck, because that will give you some time to see what everyone is doing, right, with the trucks from obviously they're all going to be electric, but what exactly are they doing with the electric powertrains, right? Are they going to have motors on each wheel, or are they going to have just one in the front and one in the rear? Are they going to have one battery pack? Or are they going to have multiple battery packs, right? What other technology is going to come with the truck? What suspension are they going to use? What tires and wheels are they going to use, right? It'll give you a chance to see everything with the trucks, and then you'll be able to make a decision based on that, versus just, and again, there's benefits to early adoption as a customer too, because you can be the cool guy on the block, right? Trying out something new. But in waiting, right, you'll be able to see exactly what's happening, what shakes out, and then you'll be able to see what truck is the best one to buy. And I'm sure that's also worth it just because of the pricing of these new trucks, right? The F-150 Lightning is going to start around 40 grand and go up to as much as like 90 grand. The new Chevy pricing was released, and it's 40 grand up to like 107 grand. And so I'm sure Ram is going to be in the same ballpark, where it's going to start somewhere in the $40,000 range. And Ram is typically in line with Ford with pricing lately. Sometimes they're a little bit lower, but I imagine a fully loaded one's going to be somewhere in that $80,000 to $90,000 range, just like the F-150 Lightning. And so that's pretty much what you're most likely going to see. But I want you guys to let me know what you think about the new Ram 1500 EV. If you think it's a good idea for Ram to wait and see what the other manufacturers do, or if you think they should just try to get something out onto the market so that they can, get market share, right? Get a name out there before it's too late, right? And all that kind of stuff. But anyways, if you're stopping here for the first time, please subscribe, and I'll see all of you in that next video.